Jó napot kívánok! Welcome to Innovation, a bridge to a sustainable gas future, the official IGRC2027 Budapest podcast, a show where we talk about the current state and the future of a global and sustainable natural gas industry. We give you a universal perspective of the gaseous energy sector, leading practices, new trends, and traditional solutions, industry insights, and new investments which will shape our future. Please don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Enjoy the show. My name is Tamás Pletcher, and I would like to welcome my two distinguished guests. First, Mr. András Steger, who is the Vice President of IGU, the International Gas Union, and Mr. László Fritzsch, the CEO of MVM CEEnergy. Welcome.
A pleasure to be here.
Also, it's a great opportunity to be here.
First, I would like to turn to Andrea. Can you please tell us a little bit about IGU's role in the constant globally changing energy landscape? So what is your organization?
Well, thank you for the question. The IGU is a complex, let's say, environment, let me put it that way, because we are representing 140, 150 members from across about 80 countries in the world. And we are representing about 90% of the global gas market in terms of all the bits and pieces of the value chain. So we are a very, let's say, integrated organization, and we are organizing two major activities. One is technical knowledge sharing. Our committees span from upstream to utilization, and we are also organizing very important events, one of which is IGRC. Of course, these events are meant to demonstrate what the industry is doing and delivering to give the consumers the energy they need and innovate for making the climate better.
Okay, thank you very much. László, can you tell us a little bit more, what does International Gas Research Conference mean for MVM CEEnergy, and what does it mean for Central and Eastern Europe?
Well, I would start what IGU means for us. Basically, you know that in the last couple of years, talking about gas, it's not easy in the European Union. I think I would start what really IGU means for us. IGU means a place where you can openly talk about what's happening in the world. We can openly talk about the future of gas, the role of gas in decarbonization. So I think it's one of the most important voices of the industry, where we would like to participate as active as possible.
Would it be a good opportunity to meet with your future partners, suppliers, either in case of pipe gas or in LNG?
IGRC, basically, I think it's an ideal place to meet the partners. IGRC, it's about development, gas developments, and I think in order to establish a proper role for gas in the industry, we definitely need development. We definitely need new way of uses for gas, and I think IGRC is going to be a wonderful opportunity to talk about this, to exchange ideas, and to meet partners.
Okay, Andrea, how do you see the change of the role of natural gas, and what do you see our region? Because we saw a very gradual changes in the past, like they flow from east to the west. Do you expect this to happen in the future, or do you see some other direction?
Let me start with the global perspective first. We have released recently the so-called Global Gas Report. By the way, all of the IGU reports are publicly available on our website, so it's free to use, and indeed it's something that we use for facts and figure discussion about gas. Because gas has been mainly somehow discussed in an ideological manner in many respects, especially in some regions of the world. Gas is indeed playing a very important role going forward, not just today, to, as we say, contributing to human progress, because it's really the energy that is increasingly needed by many people around the world. And gas, for sure, is one of the mostly available and economically affordable sources of energies. Of course, for that we need to continue investing, and we have to continue engaging with policymakers, with stakeholders, to understand how we can do better, but at the same time, I mean, we have no option not to have gas. We can comment that, let's say, later on with respect to the unintended consequences of 2022 in other places outside Europe. But for Europe, of course, we had a very intense couple of years. I think Europe has demonstrated the fact that having an integrated or a reasonably integrated gas market has served us well, served consumers well. We had a lot of infrastructures being repurposed for different flows somehow. For sure, we were also benefiting from something that we have not commented too much in Europe, which is the positive effects of the shale gas revolution in the US and liquefaction plants being developed there. Because of course, if we had not had that capacity, of course, we would have been telling today a very different story. In respect of the history of the flows from the east to the west, I normally say that we have been having a very long-standing and positive relationship with all the ups and downs of a long-standing relationship. As we all know, I'm married since almost 30 years, so these are having some ups and downs all the time. Notwithstanding that, I hope on one side things can improve very rapidly. At the same time, I am hardly convinced we can return to the past without any effects and consequences. So the one thing that the gas industry is working on is making resilience the critical word, the critical approach. And resilience means that we have optionality, we have diversification, we have different solutions and different gases as well. So it's where innovation is not just a technological demand, it's also a way to make business development, as Laszlo was saying before.
I think this industry proved to be very flexible in the last few years. What are the major challenges you see globally? Is it the supply side? Is it convincing politicians that gas is a safe and low carbon source, or anything else?
Well, I would say gas is flexible by definition. I mean, we in Europe are accustomed to flexibility and a demand pattern that is, let's say, arriving to 5-to-1 ratio between winter and summer. So gas is flexible for sure. The flexibility has also increased a lot, again, via LNG. We have been serving markets that are, let's say, newborn for gas, let me put it that way, like Vietnam, like Philippines. Indonesia is a very important market. Indonesia is almost 300 million people. I was recently in Brazil 2 weeks ago for a different occasion, and their gas is serving immensely because they are having a lot of dry season, and so hydropower is not there, so gas is complementing. At large, in the globe, we are seeing an energy demand increasing 2% every year over the last 20 years, and things are projected to be like that for the foreseeable future. So demand is growing for energy. This is calling for more gas, because the alternative in many other places of the world could be coal. Honestly speaking, if I go back 35 years, we have just 3 years where CO2 were not increasing. 1990, dissolution of the Soviet Union, 2008, Lehman crisis, 2020, COVID. So we have a huge challenge. The challenge for the gas industry is to, again, create the right landscape. I think here in Europe we have been a little bit dogmatic in some respect. Laszlo, I think, was alluding to that in a more polite manner. But I think, again, we are regaining a sort of pragmatism in the discussions. Things are to be improved. We have to do more in many respects, but I think the industry, again, back to your starting point, is very flexible in finding ways and means to both deliver and innovate. So that's where we come from, and we have to continue working on.
Okay, thank you. Laszlo, we talked about challenges already. You as a captain on the board, what was the major challenge after the Russian gas crisis, and what is your current major challenge?
Well, obviously the first major challenge was or were basically the security of supply issues. The current major challenge is that basically we see that the LNG boom is going to have an end, most probably in 1 or 2 years. The good thing is that basically Europe is not going to be blackmailed anymore about any kind of pipeline gas. On the other hand, it's also good that basically LNG is going to be part of the solution, but it's not the unique source. So basically the challenge is how to mix those two in the next couple of years. So I'm sure that the pipeline gas, neither from the east, neither from the west, is not going to disappear. On the other hand, Europe built quite a lot of infrastructure in LNG, and obviously we would like to avoid to have stranded assets, and basically to have a good mix and a viable mix. It's going to be the biggest challenge, I think, for the next years.
Andrea, how do you see Europe? Because what I saw from the estimates that the world will have a lot of LNG and LNG glut from 2025. Will Europe be mainly supplied on LNG, or will it be some role of the pipe gas, what Laszlo mentioned?
Let me be a little bit more, let's say, or less optimistic about a glut, whatever optimism can be with a glut, because of course we have boom and bust cycles there. The real issue here, back to my previous point about energy demand growing, is the fact that, again, with LNG we are having a much more interconnected world. So China is very important. India is gaining traction because, of course, they are very much committed to having more energy and more cleaner energy. They are using a lot of coal, as we know. So Qatar is doing a lot of investment. We have been, let's say, seeing some tensions about the authorization of new liquefaction plants in the US. So it's a moving environment, I think. We are still in a fragile position to be, let's say, comfortable about having a lot of gas going out there in the market and being, let's say, available for everybody. So we have to continue investing. For sure, Europe has been, let's say, the destination market in many respects, because again, it's a premium market when it comes to security supply. Laszlo was mentioning that before. We all recall the price we collectively paid in 2022, which I think is not the way to look at things going forward. So we have to, again, find the right balance between production and consumption with a view to better stimulating a long-term projections. I recall when I started my career in the gas business, long-term was 25 years take-or-pay contracts. You opened the valve and you forgot about everything else. Nowadays, in some years in the past, long-term in Europe was 12 months, honestly too short. So we have to strike a balance there. I think here, again, the call for pragmatism is very relevant, and the diversification and the mix will be evolving. I think one of the key features also of the European market is, again, back to flexibility, is underground gas storage, which has been providing an immense source of resilience to the system in many cases. So here, I think the combination of gas, new gases, electricity will make the most in different conditions. I do not see linearity honestly speaking. We have been looking at energy scenarios, linear trends. I mean, I've been in the business so much that I cannot just say linear trends are reality. So we have to be, again, more robust and more flexible to cope with real facts.
Laszlo, you mentioned the security of supply already and the diversification. I mean, do you tend to agree with Andrea that our future is not linear?
Well, about the linearity of the future, I don't know. But I think one of the learnings we had in the last couple of years is that even though from time to time certain parts of infrastructure might look to be unused, however, if we would have decreased our storage capacity 5 years ago, I don't know how would have we survived in the last couple of years. So basically, I think that the lesson learned is that we need all parts of infrastructure, and this is pretty much important. And what Andrea also mentioned is that basically with LNG heavily appearing in Europe, actually the market it's even more globalized than it was before. We have and we are going to have, I think, a fierce competition. I'm representing a commercial trading company, so yes, we have to be prepared for the future because it's going to be a very fierce competition. But all in all, I'm a little bit more optimistic because I think that Europe will face reality soon. We're at the beginning of the process, but we see the signs that Europe will face reality. And facing reality means that we are going to see that we need energy. And I think that especially for this region, I'm not talking only about Hungary, but all these landlocked countries. I mean, coming back to the idea that we have to rely on all the sources which are available for the whole region, talking from the Czech Republic till Romania, actually, so whole Central Eastern European.
Talking about the diversification and the new routes, what direction do you see to have a much more important role than today? I mean, because we get most of the gas still from Russia, but I suppose, and I see that MVM is opening to the southern direction, to the north, potentially also to LNG. So what is your tip? Where do you want to move from that?
Well, I think to be on the safe side, you need a mix. Obviously, if we're talking again about the region, the closest LNG terminal is still Kirk. Kirk is going to be developed, which is good. Kirk will be an important part of the infrastructure of the region. But what we really see in the last 2 years that basically the routes have been changed. So basically this region was supplied by Western sources mainly and Russian, of course. What we see now that the Russian gas didn't disappear, but now the route is from the south, so the Turkish stream. And obviously we see that the Azeri gas and the Turkish gas appeared. And I think that these sources will be very important in the next decade or so, because basically there is a huge potential over there and competitive sources.
Okay.
I think, again, we have, back to my referencing to supply improvements, I think we also have an important potential in the Eastern Mediterranean Sea, which is not yet developed in its full potential, which could be, of course, another source of importance for Europe at large. And of course, if you look at, Laszlo was mentioning the Southern Gas Corridor, so to speak, we have also some new initiatives, the vertical corridor from Greece northbound. I mean, here we have, again, the need to continue seeing how the diversification and the mix will play in our landscape, with the need, again, to plan in advance for long-term investments, because they will be used for the long term. It's not a question of 2 years, 5 years. No. I think we have, of course, the need to prepare and to be ready for other molecules like hydrogen. Of course, it's not something that we are envisioning tomorrow morning, but at the same time, I think here the gas industry is making the most for consumers, which are at the end of the day the ones who are needing energy. So we are here to serve, so to speak.
Okay. The last topic I wanted to touch you, and thanks for mentioning hydrogen. What are your thinking about the other gaseous molecules like hydrogen, biogas, biomethane? Which one do you like, or which one would you put your money on?
Look, it's very hard to give a simple answer for every region of the world with respect to that. For instance, I mentioned I was in Brazil. Brazil is betting hard on biomethane. Japan is looking at e-methane, so synthetic methane. So every region has its own path, its own background. What we are at IGU convinced about is that we have the need to scale up rapidly all the different technologies and of course make them fit for purpose on different conditions. So we have to be more rapid, scale up things and not reduce options. We have to increase options. The key word back to the diversification is optionality. Again, it is a basic common sense rule, so to speak. At IGU, we are very much convinced that biomethane, hydrogen, whatever color allow me, synthetic gas, CCS, CCUS will be, of course, in the need. So in that respect, I think the industry is already demonstrating the approach in terms of technological innovation. We have to continue, again, creating the best support for that. It's not just policy, it's of course creating the right elements on demand side, on the value chain. But again, it's something that we have to continue developing, acknowledging that there is no one-fits-all solution. Okay. So that's very, very important to understand and to recall.
So we should remain open for any new solutions and have a portfolio of solutions.
Again, if I look at Middle East, biomethane will not be the option there, sure. Honestly speaking. But again, back to Middle East, Qatar is developing new LNG plants, but they are also developing CCS capacity for that. So it's a mixture of optionalities and technology. I think Norway is very keen to have both hydrogen and CCS. I think here we are, again, in the need to enlarge the cooperation. Because, again, back to our European landscape, if we are, let's say, very serious, and we are to be very serious about tackling the climate challenge, we have to increase international cooperation. Honestly speaking, the industry is doing that in an international landscape. We have to move also this kind of cooperation in terms of policy making. Otherwise, we are limiting our instruments.
Okay. Laszlo, what is the path for CEEnergy?
Well, I think Andrea mentioned very clearly what are the priorities. And basically, yes, CEEnergy would like to be a regional player. In the last couple of years, basically, we developed the business from the Czech Republic till Romania, and we don't want to stop, so we would like to cover this region. And obviously, the green gas is something which has to be tackled from our part as well. And coming back to IGRC2027, I think if we are talking about innovation, it's not about technology only. It's about commercial innovation as well. It's about regulation innovation as well. And I think this is going to be a very hot topic on the IGRC27. And actually, we definitely need it because we are talking about a lot about hydrogen. We are talking about green gases, but the commercial part is lacking behind. The regulation is totally lacking behind. So there's a lot of things to do, and obviously in this region at least, CEEnergy would like to have its role, its part, and not a small one.
Mm-hmm. So you may potentially help, to have a new regulation in Europe then.
Again, as IGU, we are not entering into nitty-gritty regulation because, of course, it would be not our domain. The other important point that we can instead contribute on is the following. We can share best practices. We can make understand the policymakers what is possibly some area to be developed, some areas to be left to the market to develop. Again, the point is that sometimes in Europe, and I'm a European, so I'm pretty experienced in that respect, we tend to regulate very strict details before having the solution up front. I think here the innovation is also having the robustness of allowing the market to develop solutions and then to precise and then to fine-tune. But again, if we are willing to have things scaling up, we have sometimes to possibly fail. Again, it will not be perfect all the time. It's real life. So we have to make the case for projects to fly, to sustain the innovation game, and to spread it out. So that's where the IGU can be playing also an important role in making different cases around the world evident also in this region. And I think IGRC will be the place to be for that very occasion.
Great, thank you very much for this very interesting discussion. Thanks for your nice infos and knowledge about the industry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes of IGRC 2027 Budapest podcast.